The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The spike in new COVID-19 infections, particularly in Metro Manila, is pushing authorities to address the spread of the virus at the barangay level. To give us the details, we have Camille Samonte joining us live from Quezon City. Hi Camille, how are the LGUs going about this?
Sean, as the COVID-19 cases continue to increase, some LGUs are revisiting old measures. For instance, the use of quarantine passes will be required again, at least in one barangay here in Quezon City. Officials of Barangay Bagong Silangan in Quezon City will reimpose the use of number-coded quarantine passes starting March 15 to limit the movement of its residents. Only those with quarantine passes will be allowed to go out from 5 a.m. to 12 noon and from 4 p.m. to 10 in the evening. Indoor mass gatherings as well as outdoor liquor drinking sessions will also be prohibited. Those aged 15 and below will not be allowed to go outside their homes unless for emergency. Barangay Bagong Silangan has recorded 46 active COVID-19 cases as of Saturday. Meanwhile, public spaces and bike routes at the University of the Philippines in Diliman will remain closed until today. Campus residents are allowed to do outdoor exercises, but only within their respective areas, and they are urged to observe safety health protocols. University officials announced the temporary closure after it logged 26 active COVID-19 cases in the Barangay UP campus. Interior Undersecretary for Barangay Affairs Martin Dino calls on the local government to implement stringent contact tracing. Dino also ordered local officials to apprehend curfew and quarantine violators. Exempted from the curfew are healthcare workers, uniformed personnel, and other law enforcers. Sean, Interior Undersecretary Martin Dino is also suggesting to include barangay officials in the vaccination priority list. Dino says the local authorities are also at the front lines in curbing the spread of COVID-19. Sean?
Thank you for that update from Quezon City. That was News 5's Camille Samonte. And the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency Chief, Wilkins Villanueva, has tested positive for COVID-19. In a statement, Villanueva says he took an RT-PCR test ahead of the Monday Senate inquiry into the PDEA-PNP shootout. The PDEA chief has apologized to all the people that he had close contact with for the last several days. PNP Chief Debold Sinas also contracted the virus last Thursday. The Vice President is questioning the legality of the simultaneous raids in the Calabarzon region that led to the deaths of at least 9 activists. In a radio interview, Robredo said she does not believe the nanlaban narrative of the police. She added that these killings should not be tolerated as the public's trust in the police force will continue to go down. The Vice President has called for an unbiased investigation into the incidents.
Yung pinakamakakatulong dito ka, Ellie, magkaroon ng investigasyon na unbiased. Magkaroon ng investigasyon na unbiased. Tapos kung ano man yung lumabas sa investigasyon na meron ng abuso, merong nagkasala, yung certainty ng penalty ay dapat nandoon. Kasi kung wala yon, parang makukulong tayo sa sitwasyon na yung mga dapat na nangangalaga sa ating kaligtasan, yun na yung kinakatakutan natin.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers is denouncing the Interior Department's supposed terror tagging. The group says that the agency disregards the protected freedom of teachers, making them open targets of state attacks. A letter allegedly came from the DILG, tagged ACT or Alliance of Concerned Teachers as among the communist terrorist organizations. It also asks regional directors to list the names of government employees who are members of progressive groups. This comes after a police intelligence officer requested a regional trial court to issue a list of lawyers representing the Reds. Here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. Bolivia's former president, Janine Áñez, was arrested over her alleged involvement in a 2019 coup. Añez, who served for less than a year, and other officials are facing charges of terrorism, sedition, and conspiracy. She claims that she is a victim of political persecution. And Jordanian Health Minister Natir Obeidat resigned after 6 people died from an oxygen outage in a COVID-19 treatment hospital. The 1-hour disruption in oxygen had reached the ICU, the maternity ward, and the COVID-19 wards. And New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has once again insisted that he will not resign amid allegations of sexual misconduct. 7 women, most of them were former aides, have accused Cuomo of harassing them at work. And in Myanmar, protests continue to escalate despite a deadly crackdown on demonstrators. Bloomberg's Kurumi Mori answers key questions about the unrest and what's next for the Southeast Asian country. Let's listen in.
On February 1st, the military took control of the country in a coup d'etat and declared a state of emergency after arresting de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi and top members of her political party, the National League for Democracy. This set off major street protests across the country. The UN said soldiers and police fired live ammunition into crowds, killing dozens of pro-democracy protesters to try and stop these persistent demonstrations against the military. How did Myanmar even get here? Myanmar, previously known as Burma, is a former British colony that obtained independence in 1948. A coup in 1962 started a half-century of military rule, suppressing pro-democracy protests. In 1990, the government held free elections won by the National League for Democracy, Aung San Suu Kyi's party, with 80% of the seats in parliament. It was a landslide, but the military refused to leave, putting Suu Kyi under house arrest for much of the next 20 years and continued to rule the nation until 2011. That's when it handed over power to a so-called civilian government. Why did the military seize power this time? There was a general election held in November in which Aung San Suu Kyi won again in a landslide, but the generals are disputing the vote. The military, known as the Tamada, claims that fraud played a significant role in determining the outcome of the elections. It has said that it's using a state of emergency to take control for 1 year, and it has promised that it will hold elections afterwards. But it's unclear if this pledge is genuine or just a ploy to buy some time. Where is Suu Kyi, and is she safe? Suu Kyi and other leaders, including the former president Win Myint, were detained by the military in early morning raids. According to an official from the National League of Democracy, they are under a lock and key in their respective homes. The party has urged the people to oppose the coup and any return to military dictatorship. So what's happening on the ground? Lots and lots of protests. The pro-democracy marches, led largely by the youth, have become a daily occurrence in cities and towns across the country. On the ground, security forces have been trying to stop people from gathering. They've used water cannons, tear gas, and rubber bullets, but also have fired live ammunition into crowds. The crackdown has left dozens of people dead, but the protests haven't stopped. They have 3 key demands: the release of their civilian leaders, recognition of the 2020 election results, and removal of the military from politics. Kurumi Mori, Bloomberg News, Tokyo.
For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.